Hey everyone, it's Sarah here and this is take 2 of the video. I shared the video this morning where I was talking about this question and answering the question of, how did you deal with people that had to be left behind through all the moves, through all the changes and so on. Hey Kathleen, and I noticed the video came out very pixelated, so I guess the connection was really bad, so I will do this one more time, and as I had time to sit with it through the day, I noticed the video that I shared initially was also very negative. So there's a good thing in everything. So here's the thing that I wanted to first and foremost point out. When you are moving through life, whether it means that you are upgrading to the next level, whether it means you're changing physical location, whatever, changing the stage in your life, going from single to married, to having a family, to having grandkids, there's so many changes that happen. Thank you for the hearts. And first and foremost, I want to tell you this. You are exactly where you're supposed to be, surrounded with all the people who are supposed to be in your life. So please acknowledge that first and foremost. Secondly, trust the process and trust the fact that once you choose to make the leap and once you choose to take yourself to that next level, people who are meant to be with you will follow. They will grow with you. They will grow into the space, the new space that you're now creating. Those who are not meant to come along for this part of the journey, maybe your paths will be crossing again. Maybe this was it. And yes, it can be very disappointing. It can be very hard to process. It can be very painful to be the one who has to be the messenger of the news of saying, listen, this is not working anymore. We have to part our ways. But I promise that even in those sad moments, hard moments, there's a beacon of light. There is hope, and there's this knowing that by you choosing to let go of the energy that no longer works for you, people who no longer align with you, ideas that no longer support you, philosophies that no longer support you, right? Energies that no longer align with you. I think I just said that. You're creating space to bring in more of everything that does work for you, that does support you. And even if there's that empty space momentarily, that empty space is precious because it gives you time and it gives you space to really expand and grow. So I just wanted to put this out there first because the next part of the video, I'm gonna go deeper into a lot of emotions, a lot of personal experience of, leaving my family behind 15 years ago when I boarded a plane and moved from my hometown, my friends, the family, to 4,000 miles away into New York City. I have never been in New York City then, and I barely spoke English. What was going through my mind, what was going on in my heart when I chose to do that. Second experience was when I battled postpartum depression, and there were a couple of people in my circles that were really toxic. I just did not understand it then. And I had to make a choice to set much more firm boundaries for myself. When I went through a personal journey, that was another one of those examples when quite a few people no longer were a match. Hey, Pamela. They were no longer aligned. We had to sit down and had quite a few difficult conversations, and some difficult decisions were being made. So I really want to be transparent with you because here's the deal. This is a question that I get asked very often, and like I said, it can be very negative. It can be very draining. It can be very energy consuming in ways of holding yourself back from making the leap, from taking the next steps, from celebrating the fact that you are getting to the next level, celebrating life because you're so consumed with, thank you for the heart, you're so consumed with Am I gonna hurt somebody? Am I gonna be judged? Am I being a bad friend? Am I being a bad daughter? Am I being a lousy sister? Am I being a selfish wife? Am I being an awful mom? All of those things, and I'm telling you, all of those thoughts have gone through my mind. They have gone through my heart. I have sat with them more than once. So a couple of things that I will be sharing with you, they will come across as selfish at times, but I promise, if you allow yourself to go through the process, if you allow yourself to really say what's on your mind and follow your heart, at the end of the day, there's no wrongdoing. In this greater scheme of things, there's no being selfish. It's about elevating yourself to the position where you can really serve, where you can really lead and be in this fulfilling place. Because let's face it, you can't help others if you refuse to help yourself. You can't give to others if you don't give to yourself first. And I don't think she's here right now, but one of my dear friends, she's a nurse, and she'll be the first one to tell you how difficult even for nurses it is, because they're giving, putting a smile on, being that strong woman whose other people's lives are depending on them, but they don't give back to themselves, and their lives are falling apart. And it doesn't matter if you're a nurse or if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a millionaire or somebody who is supported by a spouse, if you're a stay-at-home mom or a career woman, it does not matter. What matters is this, that when you look around and when you look at your life and you look at your achievements and you then look in the mirror, and when you don't recognize the person staring back at you, when the sparkle in your eyes is gone, when the fire in your belly is barely there, then there is something wrong. There's something wrong with this picture. It's not supposed to be like that. So the reason why I'm so passionate about sharing just this topic in particular is, like I said, I have been through that many times, and yes, it can be painful. But the most beautiful thing is that there's no rule that it says that in order to grow, that in order to move to the other side of the world, to be location free, to travel the world, that it has to be either or. There's no rule that says that you have to sever the ties with your friends, that you have to let go of your family and, be the lone wolf. Absolutely not. And I think that's what puzzles most of the people. And not too long ago, I asked people in my circles, very bluntly, I said, well, if you could travel, if you could create this location-free lifestyle, if you could take vacations, as many as you wanted, with your family or on your own, just having fun, what's stopping you from that? And a lot of those people had this guilt around, what are others going to say? What is my family going to think? How is my family going to be without me? And I'm not just saying family as your kids, I'm also saying family as in your parents. So let me start with that. So when I first moved to New York, it was actually thanks to my own parents who encouraged me. Because my initial reaction when I got offered scholarship from New York basketball team, college, I was like, where did you find me? I'm not going. What? Like, are you insane? I'm not moving to New York. Are you crazy? Because funny thing, in the town that I grew up with, like I said, it has 20,000 citizens. It's one of those medieval towns with red clay rooftops where everybody knows everybody, everything is in walking distance. And just a few months prior to the phone call, my sister and I were walking through our capital city, which is 100,000 citizens. And I remember looking around, I was like, how can anybody live in this concrete jungle? I could never live there. And it was pretty much a small town. And there I was, packing my belongings into 3 suitcases, boarding the plane to go to New York City. But at that moment, thinking back now, that moment was so full of expectations. I was so full of adrenaline. I was so full of excitement that I did not even have the capacity to really think how long 1 year is going to be, how long 4 years actually are going to be. And that made it really easy. In addition to that, once I got to New York and once we settled in and I purchased a laptop and a webcam and I was able to Skype meet with my family overseas, the most beautiful thing that came out of the situation was that my family and I learned how to really communicate with each other from 4,000 miles away. You know, all those little things that you take for granted when you have them near, all the hugs, all the looks, nods, and stuff like that. We had to learn how to express our emotions, how to express our feelings, and how to really communicate openly. And that in itself was one of the greatest gifts. On the other hand, you know, if I did not have the courage to sit on the airplane, I would have never met my husband. I would have never had my 2 little girls, right? So when you open up yourself to limitless possibilities, when you follow that fire in your soul, when you follow that curiosity, and when you trust that whatever steps are happening, that everything is going to work out, you simply surrender and allow everything to come back together. It might not be exactly how you envisioned, but in the end, it really works out. Now, I would be lying if I said that some friendships simply dissolved, because they did. But at the end of the day, you know, if distance is a reason for friendship to dissolve, then was it a real friendship to begin with? And again, I sat with it for quite some time because I did feel guilty for not putting enough effort in some friendships. And it just didn't work out, and that is okay. Like I said earlier, there are some people who are meant to be with you on this whole journey. There are some people who simply walk in and walk out, and that is perfectly fine. But in return, what I got was a whole new team of coaches and friendships that still up to today, I know we can call on each other in the middle of the night if we need to, and we are there for each other. And that to me is priceless. So that, so much about, you know, moving a physical location, if you have reservations around that. There's also, you know, different ways when you're creative. Let's say I had somebody who lives in New York and she wants to move to Miami and is really concerned about her daughter's education, her daughter's ability to be with grandparents, and grandparents to be able to be with them, and running a business along the East Coast, and all of those little things, all of those little questions are coming up that, you know, when you give them attention, when you sit with them, they seem very legit, they seem huge. But if you really take a look, there's just details, and all of them are going to start falling into place once you make that energetic commitment that yes, you're going to go, you're going to follow your desire, you're going to go and live in the area that you know fulfills you and fills you up with a new energy and gives you the support that you need. Because sometimes it is that environmental change of scenery, change of culture, change of everyday life that you need. And I had somebody else who wanted to move from Sedona to California, and she was having a real hard time too with, you know, do I really need to move to California? Do I really need to have beachfront property? Isn't that too materialistic? Isn't that too chauvinistic? Like, who am I to even desire that? And let me tell you, just because you have a vision, it already means that it can be done, that you have the capacity, and that there's no need to justify it. You have the capacity to make it happen. But in her case, it was not about, you know, posting the picture to Instagram and say, oh, listen, I have a beachfront property. Her line of work requires her to be fully present, fully grounded, fully at her best. And the first thing that allows you to be at your best is your environment. So if you feel trapped, if you feel like you don't belong, it is damn hard to get yourself together every single morning and be there at 100%. Just to start a day and be able to support your clients. So when you look from that perspective, it is very important, where do you choose to be and who do you choose to surround yourself with. So the second and third and fourth point of experience that I had personally, like I mentioned, going through postpartum depression, going through incredible personal transformation and growth, and choosing to go to Slovenia for 4 months with my 2 girls. Those were kind of internal monologues that I had to have with myself, my consciousness, my ego, all of my fears, right? Because who am I to have those desires? Who am I to tell somebody that we can't be friends anymore? Who am I to judge if somebody's a good enough friend to me or if I'm a good enough friend to them? Who am I to say to my husband, listen, I don't feel supported here in New York. I need to take myself and girls to Slovenia to heal ourselves, to reconnect to ourselves. All of the chatter, all of those fears, all of that guilt, all of that self-judgment was really coming up. So like I said, it takes a lot of mindset work. It's not just strategizing. It's not just figuring out where you're going to stay, how much is it going to cost you, booking the flight tickets, and so on and so forth. It's not just the logistics. It starts up here. And it only goes here when you allow your heart and soul to lead. So going back to drawing those boundaries, right? When you choose that, when you consciously choose yourself, when you choose that your voice matters, when you choose to know, not just believe, but know with your whole being that your desires matter, it is one of the most powerful experiences. Like your whole body shifts. Everything around you starts to conspire to support you in your quest to make it happen. It is, I can't even put it into words. I really can't. And you start honoring yourself and you start noticing little things like phone is ringing, a certain name shows up, and it drains you. Just the idea of picking it up and having this dreadful conversation that's gonna, squeeze every ounce of energy out of you. You get to choose. Is that something that you want to endure? It's not about being selfish bitch, so to speak, of saying, I'm too good for that. It's about honoring yourself. It's about honoring the friendship in itself, because like I said earlier, there's gonna be some people that will not be able to see things in the way you see, and they will want to keep you safe. They will, safe in quotation marks, they will want to keep you where you are. They will want to keep you playing small and invisible and not too difficult, and who just don't get it. No offense, they don't get it. They are on a different level than you are. Not saying one is better than the other, it's just different. And when you notice that you're spinning in circle, when you have this knot in your throat, when you put a fake smile on your face, when you show up, when you go through the motions, just so you don't hurt somebody, you're hurting yourself. And your soul dies a little bit every time. And not just that, what starts to happen is trust in yourself starts to disappear. And the gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because you fail to honor yourself. And the longer you drag it out, the greater the gap is, and the cracks start to leak into every other area of your life. It's not just that friendship, because the way you do one thing is how you do everything. So when you then look at your career or at your business, you start seeing discrepancies as well. That you might be thinking something You might be feeling something. Or even in marriage. Marriage, I think, is one of the biggest ones. When you have something at the tip of the tongue, but you don't express it. You don't know how to express it, or you don't dare to express it. You're just there. All you can manage to say is, I'm fine. Oh, it's all fine, right? I'm fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. Because what that does, it's a little drop, and a little drop, and a little drop, and it comes to the point when, like we say, a straw that broke a camel's back. And then it's seemingly a very innocent thing that caused the explosion. And oftentimes that explosion means your health. And there has to be an outlet, right? It's health issues, skin issues, issues with digestion, issues with hormones, issues with weight. In business, it's all of a sudden things start falling apart. You can seemingly get, things that you used to do with your eyes closed, they don't work anymore. And you start looking for solutions. In marriage, you start noticing that your partner's withdrawn. Well, they're just holding up a mirror. You're kind of withdrawn from there too. And you're walking like on the eggshells around each other. Everything's fine, but you're just going through the motions. And it starts affecting you, especially when you're a woman who is very self-aware, very sensitive to the energies around, very sensitive to situation, right? You take it on you. All of those things are going to affect you. And if we're talking about friendships, it's the same thing. If it's not fulfilling, it's draining. And if it's draining, it's taking a toll on you. And if it's taking a toll on you, you can't show up for yourself. You can't show up for those who matter the most. Hey, Dunya. You can't show up to do your work at the highest level that you're meant to do. And if that highest level in your books, in your spirit, is traveling the world, but you're holding yourself back from it, that's just a domino effect. You're blocking yourself from everywhere else. So, I know this was a very long answer to a seemingly simple question. How do you deal with people? How do you deal with people who had to be left behind? That's how you deal with them. And it doesn't have to be leaving them behind forever. It can be just for a period of time. It doesn't have to be leaving them behind after all. And some, yes, some will have to be the difficult conversation of, I can't give you what you're looking for. Maybe our paths cross again. Until then, I wish you all the best. And some will understand it, some will not. And that's, one of the most extreme things, but that's why the block on the social media button is. You block somebody, you block their number. Because you and only you are responsible for managing your own energy. Only you are responsible for not only setting the boundaries, but enforcing the boundaries. Only you are responsible for keeping yourself content. Only you are responsible for your own happiness. And if all of those little things are like a leaking dam, right? Sooner or later, it's going to break. The flood is going to come through, right? You're going to be buried under all the ruins. So it's your job to close those leaks, to close those gaps. And yes, like I said, sometimes it does come down to ending certain relationships. But the beautiful thing is, when one door's closed, another window opens. And when you release somebody, when you release certain energy out of your life, you create space for a new one. And the opportunities that start coming your way, the people that start walking into your life. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. And it can be friends. There we go. Like I said, every single time we get so connected, a phone comes through or a message comes through, so I take it as a sign that we're on point here. Um, but I lost my train of thought. Where were we? Um, we were talking about this new energy and the new opportunities and the right people coming in. And yes, how often when either it was your experience or somebody that you know, right? They were in this relationship that was dreading, that was the game of powers, that was just not working. And they tried to get pregnant, thinking the child's gonna solve everything, and they just couldn't and couldn't and couldn't and couldn't. It just wouldn't work, right? And then finally they decided that, well, maybe it's time to let go. They released each other from their lives. They moved on. They found the love of their lives. They were able to have the most beautiful, healthy child together like that. It's the same thing. It really is. All the notification. It really is the same thing. You release one energy, you open up to a new one. You choose that, hey, New York does not support me. I outgrew it as an environment. I outgrew the energy. I outgrew the hustle and bustle and artificial relationships. I need something more authentic. I need something slower. I need something more connected. I am going. And I'm taking the girls with me. We'll be back in 4 months. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm leaving the options open. The moment you make this commitment, the moment you make the decision, it's like a weight of the world is lifted off your shoulders and you're able to breathe. Because just this contemplation, sitting on the fence, going back and forth, fighting with your ego, fighting with all your fears, oh my gosh, it's so consuming. It sucks the energy out of you. It really does. And being in a relationship when you can't speak up, when you don't feel enough, when you don't feel heard, when you don't feel understood, when you don't feel supported, no matter how much money you bring to the table, because at the end of the day, it's not about money, it's about your feeling worthy. And that's the essence of everything that I just shared with you here. It's your sense of self-worth that is your compass. And with that, you'll be able to make choices every single second, every single hour, every single day of every single week of every single year that are guided by best, purest intentions, that are fueled by your heart, soul, spirit, not the ego up here. Ego up here is like an emergency brake, and you have to learn how to release that too. But what starts to happen once you allow yourself to cruise through life like this, knowing where your north is, knowing what your purpose is, knowing what supports you, knowing what fulfills you, knowing what excites you, knowing what you need, and giving yourself permission to give that to yourself, opening up to receiving that into your life, and stop playing the judgment games, stop playing the blame games, stop playing the victim games. Oh my gosh, it's like day and night. You will not recognize yourself. And with that, it's just the beginning. When you get to that point, it is just the beginning. Just the beginning. Give yourself the gift of trusting and choosing your own future, choosing your own desires, and surrendering into the knowing that everything will be exactly the way it's supposed to be. That you cannot possibly make any wrong choices. Because when you trust your heart, when you let your soul and spirit guide you, there is no way in hell you can make a wrong choice. And even coming to terms and making peace with the fact that, yes, some people will be left at the doors, they will wave goodbye, and you will see them maybe in a different lifetime, maybe later down the road, who knows. But those people who are worthy of being in your presence, those are going to be the ones who are going to be with you on the challenge, and you're going to have the time of your lives. You're going to have this, like my daughter said today, we went into a car, all three of us, the girls had a day off, and we went out of the garage. And it's like, okay, girls, are you ready for the adventure? And my little one, she's crazy about pink. A 3-year-old, she channels pink like no one's business. And she goes, get this party started, mommy. And I turned on the radio and guess what song came up? Pink's Get the Party Started. So we were partying through the day. It's exactly what is gonna happen in your life, in any part of your life. May it be your personal life, may it be relationship with your kids, with your spouse, finding the right person to either enter a relationship with, being in business, being in a career, finding the right place to live, making the choices of, I'm gonna sell everything and I'm gonna live location free, or I'm just gonna go for a few months. It does not matter because everything will fall into place. So give yourself this gift of stop tolerating the freaking knot in your throat and losing your voice and having excruciating headaches and stuff like that. Let it out. Own your voice. Own your voice. Own your voice. Own your power. Embrace your desires. Let them fuel your choices. And start celebrating because your life is about to change. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this with me. And if you know of anybody who needs to hear this message, who could benefit from it, please share it with them. And if you have any questions, reach out and we'll go from there. Take care.